The lights are blinding, the crowds are roaring, and behind the camera, illusions rule. In Hollywood, stars and scars, we trace the hidden paths where fame turns fragile beauty becomes weaponized, and the industry's glitter hides a ledger of betrayal. This is a vault of Hollywood scandals, actors whose choices, surgeries, and secrets became headlines, careers shattered by exposure, and reputations quietly erased. By the midpoint, one rising star faces a moment that cost everything. Overnight, an intimate decision turned public spectacle. What happened in that single instant? And who survived the fallout? The answers lie deeper than the flashbulbs ever captured. Behind the glitter, the scars remain. Welcome to Hollywood Stars and Scars. Number 10. Baise-moi. The film France wanted to bury. At the height of her career, Karen Lancôme and Raffaella Anderson were icons of French indie cinema. Young, striking, fearless in their pursuit of roles that challenged conventional storytelling. Red carpets welcomed them with flashing cameras, festivals celebrated their daring performances, and critics lauded their commitment to raw authenticity. Every interview, every magazine spread reinforced the image of actresses willing to push boundaries, fearless and untouchable under the European spotlight. Their careers seemed bulletproof, their allure magnetic, their reputations carefully curated for both acclaim and controversy. Then came Baise-moi, a film that blurred lines between narrative and reality. The project's explicit content ignited international outrage. Headlines questioned the morality of the performances, while studio executives scrambled to contain fallout. Distributors hesitated, festival screenings sparked debates, and the actresses faced both public scrutiny and professional warnings. Reports stated that the media frenzy threatened to overshadow every previous credit, turning their careers into a lightning rod for tabloid sensationalism. Interviews turned tense. PR teams worked overtime, and the film's notoriety eclipsed any artistic merit. A calculated risk had metastasized into a career-defining crisis. In the aftermath, both women weathered professional isolation, their names forever entwined with controversy rather than cinematic achievement. Critics continued to debate whether their performances were courageous art or exploitative spectacle. Industry insiders claimed opportunities dwindled, and the actresses were forced to navigate a public narrative they never fully controlled. Fame had exacted its toll. The glow of red carpets now shadowed by whispers and editorial caution. The scandal etched a permanent scar on their trajectory, a cautionary marker of artistic bravery colliding with unforgiving industry scrutiny. When the glare finally faded, it left an uncomfortable silence, a reminder that ambition and audacity in Hollywood often come at an invisible cost. This tension of personal exposure and public backlash set the stage for the next story, Suk-Yin Lee, a broadcaster whose creative risk would nearly erase her career entirely. Number 9. Shortbus, the broadcaster who almost lost everything. At the pinnacle of her career, Suk-Yin Lee commanded both the airwaves and the screen, a broadcaster celebrated for wit, intelligence, and fearless artistry. Red carpets gleamed beneath her presence. Awards ceremonies lauded her versatility, and audiences trusted the persona carefully cultivated over years of precision work. Her public image was untouchable, confident, elegant, and daring in ways that made her both relatable and aspirational. Every interview, every live segment, reinforced the aura of control, a professional, fully in command of both reputation and opportunity. Then came Shortbus, a cinematic experiment that blurred performance and intimacy with unprecedented frankness. Lee's participation placed her at the center of scrutiny that extended far beyond artistic critique. Paparazzi flashes captured whispered speculation. Media outlets ran headlines questioning professionalism, and the public narrative threatened to eclipse years of carefully built credibility. Reports stated that network executives feared association and colleagues quietly distanced themselves, signaling a subtle but sharp isolation. Interviews grew tense, PR teams worked overtime, and the broadcast world seemed to shrink overnight. A calculated risk intended to stretch creative boundaries had metastasized into a career-defining pressure point. In the wake, Lee navigated intense scrutiny while maintaining her voice and presence in media circles. Industry insiders claimed that opportunities shifted the public's gaze, lingered more on controversy than talent, and the line between personal autonomy and professional image blurred in lasting ways. While her career did not collapse entirely, the episode left an indelible mark, a warning of how swiftly perception can overtake performance. Fame proved fragile, and visibility became a double-edged sword. The glare of acclaim can vanish faster than the applause, leaving only whispers and headlines. The fragile intersection of ambition and exposure would next test Karl Glusman, whose audacious Love in 3D gamble would put a rising career on the line. Number 8. Love in 3D. Karl Glusman's career gamble. At the peak of his early career, Karl Glusman was a rising actor, defined by sharp features, commanding screen presence, and a reputation for selecting bold, challenging roles. Red carpets reflected youthful promise, industry insiders praised his intensity, and audiences were captivated by the combination of charisma and restraint he brought to every performance. Every interview reinforced a carefully maintained image, a talented actor poised for mainstream recognition without sacrificing artistic credibility. His trajectory promised acclaim, festival invitations, and the steady accumulation of influence in a competitive Hollywood ecosystem. The turning point came with Love in 3D, an audacious project that demanded a level of vulnerability few mainstream actors had attempted. The film's explicit material, combined with its immersive 3D presentation, immediately attracted media speculation. Headlines questioned Glusman's judgment, casting doubt on whether his commitment to realism was career-enhancing or reckless. Reports stated that PR teams worked frantically to navigate early festival reactions, while leaked on-set interviews fueled gossip that threatened to eclipse the film itself. Industry insiders claimed studio executives quietly questioned his marketability, creating a tense standoff between artistic integrity and commercial survival. What began as a deliberate choice to expand his range quickly became a test of public tolerance and professional resilience. In the aftermath, Glusman's performance was polarizing. Critics debated bravery versus sensationalism, and the actor himself was forced to defend both career and personal integrity. Opportunities reportedly shifted as the industry recalibrated, weighing risk against talent. The spotlight that once promised ascendancy now highlighted vulnerability, leaving the actor caught between acclaim and scandal. Fame revealed its dual nature, a reward and a trap, with every daring choice carrying potential irreversible consequences. The illusion of control in Hollywood can fracture in a single moment. The shadow of rumor would next reach back decades, haunting a masterpiece long after its premiere. Don't Look Now, and the speculation that lingered around it. Number 7. Don't Look Now, the rumor that haunted a masterpiece. At the height of their careers, Donald Sutherland and Julie Christie were cinematic royalty icons of subtlety, elegance, and intellectual gravitas. Red carpets celebrated their presence, award shows honored their artistry, and critics revered their ability to command a scene without spectacle. Every press appearance reinforced an image of refinement and credibility, a pair whose talent seemed untouchable, their professional judgment unimpeachable, and whose performances were benchmarked as flawless examples of screen discipline. Then Don't Look Now entered the public consciousness, not just as a haunting psychological thriller, but as the subject of persistent rumor. Decades after its release, whispers circulated about the intimate scene between Sutherland and Christie, suggesting it may have crossed from performance into reality. Paparazzi retrospectives, film retrospectives, and tabloid speculation fueled the fire, while industry insiders claimed that festival programmers and distributors debated how to frame the film without igniting scandal. Interviews became tense in archival footage, and every magazine reference walked the line between homage and accusation. The media speculation became part of the movie's mythology, threatening to overshadow its narrative and artistic achievements. Reports stated that both actors consistently denied the rumors, yet the whispers persisted, a reminder that public perception can resist correction indefinitely. The film's legacy became entwined with its unconfirmed controversy, the mastery of cinematic suspense now paired with the shadow of doubt. Careers survived, but the image of control and refinement was punctured by decades of insinuation. Fame, even when earned through discipline, is vulnerable to the persistence of myth and rumor. The illusions that surround even the most meticulous performance can linger indefinitely, shaping reputations long after the final cut. That tension between talent and rumor would next collide with the world of rock, where a legendary band's on-screen betrayal became a story of trust, loyalty, and public spectacle. Performance and the scandal that followed. Number 6. Performance. The rock star betrayal rumor. At the peak of the 1960s rock explosion, Mick Jagger and Anita Pallenberg were the embodiment of rebellion and allure. Red carpets, magazine covers, and concert arenas celebrated their magnetism. Jagger's charisma unmatched, Pallenberg's style iconic. Together they projected an image of untouchable power, a couple whose influence spanned music, fashion, and Hollywood's social elite. Every appearance reinforced their control, every interview a carefully curated narrative, and every performance cemented a reputation for fearless glamour and calculated edge. The turning point emerged around Performance, a project intended to fuse cinema and rock's avant-garde sensibility. Industry whispers and tabloid speculation suggested improvised intimacy between Jagger and Pallenberg, amplified by their real-life romantic entanglements and the film's provocative content. Reports stated that crew tension and on-set disagreements were quickly overshadowed by public interpretation, as headlines questioned morality, professionalism, and consent. PR teams scrambled to clarify context. Festival screenings became flashpoints, and the media frenzy elevated rumor into myth. Insiders claimed that the scandal distracted from the film's artistic achievements, shifting focus from experimental storytelling to personal betrayal and public spectacle. In retrospect, the allegations remained unresolved but persistent, becoming a defining shadow over both careers. Pallenberg's public image absorbed waves of scrutiny, while Jagger's rock star aura insulated him from equivalent damage. The project itself gained cult status more for scandal than innovation, and the story illustrates the fragility of celebrity credibility when personal relationships collide with public perception. Even brilliance cannot shield against the distortions of fame, and the spectacle often eclipses the substance. The camera archives the performance, but public obsession dictates the legacy. Once an artist surrenders personal boundaries to the lens, the psychological toll becomes an invisible tax. Fame weaponizes vulnerability, proving that an image surrendered to the masses never truly returns to its creator unscathed. Still, a fractured reputation is merely the beginning. When shock artistry crosses into legal warfare, the fallout mutates entirely. The shadows behind heart-shaped glasses are waiting. In the glare of exposure, the veneer of power can fracture in an instant. The next chapter shifts to the 1990s, where Mickey Rourke and Carré Otis faced a different kind of vulnerability captured in Wild Orchid and the images that vanished from view. Number 5. Wild Orchid. The Playboy images that vanished. At the height of the 1990s, Mickey Rourke and Carré Otis commanded attention with a rare combination of raw charisma and screen magnetism. Red carpets reflected their carefully cultivated allure, tabloids documented their chemistry, and magazine covers amplified their status as icons of both beauty and daring. Every interview and public appearance reinforced a dual image: Rourke as the brooding, enigmatic leading man, Otis as the fearless, sophisticated model-turned-actress. Together, they seemed untouchable, a pair whose careers promised not just stardom, but cultural permanence. The turning point arrived with Wild Orchid, a film whose sensual imagery and promotional material ignited intense media scrutiny. Reports stated that certain Playboy-associated images intended for controlled publicity mysteriously vanished, sparking rumors, speculation, and legal whispers. Headlines questioned whether the content had been mishandled, stolen, or suppressed, while studio executives moved to contain both narrative and reputation. PR teams orchestrated damage control interviews grew defensive, and the actresses' personal lives became entangled with professional fallout. Industry insiders claimed the scandal threatened to eclipse the film's artistic ambitions, turning carefully framed allure into an object of controversy rather than celebration. In the aftermath, Otis and Rourke navigated a media landscape increasingly fixated on scandal over craft. The vanished images and persistent speculation became a recurring footnote in both careers, reinforcing the notion that visibility in Hollywood can be as precarious as it is lucrative. While neither faced permanent exclusion, the episode underscored how fragile control over one's image can be when public appetite for spectacle eclipses artistic intent. Fame, like a spotlight, can illuminate achievement while simultaneously exposing vulnerability. Even curated publicity can unravel when control slips through unseen hands. The next chapter explores a far darker collision of fame and law. Heart-shaped glasses, where shock rock and legal battles converged into a career-defining shadow. Number 4. Heart-shaped glasses. When shock rock turned into a legal shadow. At the height of his notoriety, Marilyn Manson was the epitome of shock rock genius, provocative, magnetic, and untouchable in a culture hungry for rebellion. Red carpets, magazine spreads, and sold-out tours amplified his image, a carefully constructed persona of danger, charisma, and artistic audacity. Behind the theatrics, Evan Rachel Wood commanded her own spotlight. A rising actress known for precision, poise, and versatility that earned both critical and peer respect. Together, they embodied a collision of worlds, the raw unpredictability of rock and the disciplined elegance of Hollywood. The turning point arrived with the heart-shaped glasses era, when the music video and associated media attention ignited scrutiny that went beyond artistry. Reports stated that certain aspects of the production and the personal dynamics captured by press coverage became entangled in allegations, legal threats, and public speculation. PR teams worked to contain the narrative. Leaked headlines amplified the controversy, and every interview was shadowed by questions about consent, power, and agency. Industry insiders claimed that networks, studios, and festival organizers quietly debated association, while social media and tabloids fed a cycle of rumor that blurred the line between art and accusation. The spotlight that had once elevated both figures now amplified vulnerability, revealing the precarious balance between notoriety and exposure. In the aftermath, Manson's public persona remained divisive. Wood's career continued under intense scrutiny, and legal filings underscored the collision of fame law and media spectacle. The episode became a stark example of how a single high-profile project can transform professional triumph into a shadowed legacy. Fame can protect and endanger in equal measure, leaving scars no applause can erase. Even the most calculated image can fracture when law, rumor, and public perception converge. The next story shifts to a different kind of paradox: Robert Pattinson, whose Twilight-Era experiment in Little Ashes quietly challenged expectations and sparked whispers that would follow him into superstardom. Number 3. Little Ashes. Robert Pattinson's Twilight-Era secret. At the crest of his early career, Robert Pattinson was a rising star in the global cinematic landscape. Handsome, intense, and already commanding attention through independent films and festival acclaim. Red carpets celebrated his presence with eager flashes. Interviews framed him as a serious actor with both range and charisma, and early roles built an aura of credibility that promised longevity beyond teen idol fame. His Twilight-Era emergence amplified public anticipation, positioning him as a figure capable of bridging mainstream superstardom with auteur-driven projects. The turning point arrived with Little Ashes, a daring art house biopic that required Pattinson to navigate complex emotional terrain and intimate vulnerability on camera. Reports stated that a particular performance choice sparked whispers among critics and audiences alike, suggesting a level of realism that blurred the boundary between acting and personal exposure. Paparazzi retrospectives and festival coverage amplified speculation, while industry insiders claimed agents and PR teams had to negotiate carefully to prevent misinterpretation from overshadowing the film itself. Media chatter framed Pattinson's boldness as a potential gamble, threatening the delicate balance between credibility and controversy, just as his mainstream visibility was peaking. In the aftermath, the whispers persisted, but Pattinson successfully transitioned into wider recognition without permanent damage to his image. Critics debated artistic bravery versus calculated risk, yet the actor maintained his trajectory into global franchises and critically acclaimed projects. The episode illustrated the fragile line between artistic commitment and public interpretation, showing how even measured risk can be amplified into rumor and legend. Fame, no matter how carefully managed, carries its own shadows. Even careful ambition can cast unexpected shadows when perception overtakes intention. That tension would next confront Chloé Sevigny, whose The Brown Bunny risked professional ruin with a single controversial scene that defined a decade of speculation. Number 2. The Brown Bunny. Chloé Sevigny's career execution attempt. At the peak of her indie film career, Chloé Sevigny embodied the modern muse, poised, fearless, and effortlessly stylish. Red carpets reflected her quiet charisma. Critics praised her nuanced performances, and every festival screening reinforced a reputation for intelligent risk-taking. Interviews portrayed an actress fully in control of her craft, balancing art house credibility with mainstream visibility. Her name carried weight in both European and American circuits, a symbol of cool sophistication capable of elevating any project with gravitas and authenticity. The turning point arrived with The Brown Bunny, a film whose explicit content thrust Sevigny into a maelstrom of controversy. Reports stated that a single, intimate scene became the focal point of festival criticism and tabloid scrutiny, overshadowing the film's artistic intentions. PR teams scrambled to navigate headlines, interviews grew defensive, and industry insiders claimed executives privately cautioned her about potential long-term repercussions. Media speculation amplified the narrative, framing Sevigny not as a committed performer, but as a figure whose professional judgment was suddenly questioned. The red carpets that once celebrated her artistry now felt like a gauntlet of public opinion, each camera flash a reminder of the fragile balance between audacity and backlash. In the aftermath, Sevigny's career endured, but the episode left a lasting imprint: whispered criticism, festival debates, and the persistent association of her name with controversy rather than craft. Opportunities reportedly shifted, forcing careful curation of roles, while the film itself gained notoriety more for scandal than cinematic merit. The illusion of control proved vulnerable, even for an actress at the height of her reputation. Fame can pivot from acclaim to scrutiny in an instant. That fragile equilibrium of public perception would next challenge Sienna Miller and Hayden Christensen, whose Factory Girl became a nexus of rumor, media obsession, and professional uncertainty. Number 1. Factory Girl, Sienna Miller. Hayden Christensen and the Rumor Machine. At the height of their careers, Sienna Miller and Hayden Christensen were among Hollywood's most scrutinized young talents, glamorous, ambitious, and positioned for global recognition. Red carpets reflected polished elegance, magazine spreads amplified their cultural cachet, and every festival screening reinforced an aura of credibility and promise. Miller's edgy sophistication and Christensen's franchise-backed appeal made them both media darlings, their personal and professional images meticulously curated to balance charm with artistic seriousness. Public perception painted a flawless tableau of talent, beauty, and potential. The turning point came with Factory Girl, a high-profile biopic whose intimate content and celebrity connections ignited a swirl of media speculation. Reports stated that paparazzi and tabloids amplified alleged improprieties on set, framing whispers into headlines and fueling public debate over authenticity, consent, and professionalism. PR teams worked frantically to manage festival reactions and interviews, while leaked images and anonymous accounts circulated online. Industry insiders claimed executives privately debated the project's promotional strategy, wary that rumor might eclipse the film itself. The actors' carefully constructed images were suddenly vulnerable, caught in a relentless cycle, where personal scrutiny became indistinguishable from professional assessment. In the aftermath, both Miller and Christensen weathered sustained public attention and industry whispers, balancing ongoing projects against the shadows of speculation. The film's reputation became inseparable from the rumors, creating a lasting footnote in each actor's career trajectory. While neither career collapsed, the episode demonstrated the fragility of reputation under unrelenting media observation, and how perception can destabilize even the most meticulously managed public image. The cost of visibility in Hollywood can emerge quietly, yet persist indefinitely. With the final frames of this journey behind us, the scars of ambition and exposure remain, reminding us that behind every glittering premiere lies the hidden ledger of consequence. Behind the flashbulbs and viral headlines, Hollywood scandals reveal the human cost hidden beneath the glamour. Careers collapse on a single headline. Vanity distorts identities, and the relentless spotlight isolates those it once elevated. Hollywood's Stars and Scars exposes the silent alarms ignored by studios and tabloids alike, reminding us that courage is knowing when to step back. Empathy is seeing the person behind the performance, and survival often means preserving your mind before the applause fades. When the cameras vanish and the crowd forgets, the price of perfection becomes a silent echo. Careers crumble in shadows, secrets rot behind red carpets, and illusions die louder than applause. Hollywood scandals leave traces the tabloids won't show, and the stories that survive are the ones the industry tried hardest to bury. Subscribe to Hollywood Stars and Scars to uncover the next hidden dossier. Witness the truths the spotlight conceals, and follow the reels that map fame's fragile edge. Remember, brilliance blinds, but the scars linger beyond the glare. The loudest applause cannot drown out the deafening silence of a locked room. When the studio lights finally power down, the Hollywood illusion burns away, leaving only fragile mortals and their unchecked demons. To understand the ignored warnings behind these Hollywood scandals and disturbing tragedies, you must look closer. Subscribe to Hollywood Stars and Scars as we continue to unlock the restricted archives of history, piece together the overlooked evidence, and ensure the next crucial frame isn't lost to time. Because the applause always fades, but the truth remains. Behind the glitter, the scars remain. Welcome to Hollywood Stars and Scars. Number 20, Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks is the ultimate American everyman. A two-time Oscar winner, globally beloved for his golden personality and dynamic roles. For decades, his public image projected invincible health and boundless energy. He was the anchor of Hollywood, an actor whose on-screen resilience mirrored what fans believed was an untouchable, flawless off-screen life. But behind the rigorous filming schedules and red carpet smiles, a silent, progressive threat was taking root. The turning point didn't happen in a sudden flash, but through a series of subtle health indicators easily dismissed by relentless work ethic. The devastating turn came when the invisible symptoms could no longer be ignored, forcing a quiet medical intervention. Hanks found himself confronting a chronic condition that secretly lurked within, demanding an immediate, non-negotiable overhaul of his entire lifestyle, and fundamentally threatening his demanding career pace. Official accounts confirmed a type 2 diabetes diagnosis. The revelation shattered the illusion of celebrity invulnerability. Medical management of his health journey dictated that this serious health crisis required strict, lifelong discipline, transforming his daily routine into a calculated protocol of control. The aftermath forced him to navigate an invisible burden, balancing blockbuster commitments with relentless dietary and physical scrutiny. His ongoing battle serves as a stark reminder ignoring the body's early warnings can force a permanent lifestyle shift, proving that chronic illness spares no level of fame or fortune. A Hollywood titan learned that controlling a cinematic narrative cannot control biology. But what happens when an illness doesn't just attack the failing physical body, but targets the very mind that built a global franchise? Number 19. Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman was Hollywood's ultimate voice of authority. With his majestic demeanor and iconic deep resonance, he projected an image of unshakable strength and composure. For decades, he was the industry's stoic anchor, a veteran actor whose on-screen presence commanded absolute respect and suggested a life of total control and untouchable stability. But in 2008, A single devastating turn shattered that flawless equilibrium. A horrific car accident became the catalyst for a serious health crisis. The immediate trauma was just the beginning. The crash inflicted severe nerve damage in his left hand, triggering a relentless, lifelong battle with fibromyalgia. The physical impact was irreversible, plunging the actor into a daily reality of intense, unrelenting, chronic pain. A split-second event permanently altered his physical trajectory, leaving him to wrestle with a condition that fundamentally attacked his nervous system. Official accounts described a grueling aftermath, where the actor was forced to adapt to severe physical limitations. Medical interventions required him to frequently wear a specialized compression glove to manage the continuous agony in his arm. Despite the invisible burden, Freeman bravely continued his illustrious career, masking his immense physical struggles behind a calm exterior. His ongoing fight serves as a sobering reminder: a sudden trauma can completely rewrite an individual's physical reality, demanding silent resilience in the face of incurable pain. A Hollywood legend fought to conceal his physical agony behind a stoic mask, proving that a commanding voice cannot silence a failing body. But what happens when the affliction isn't just physical pain, but a devastating condition that slowly erases the very mind that made a star a global icon? Number 18. Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicholson was the undisputed king of Hollywood charisma. With his piercing gaze and mysterious smile, he dominated the silver screen, captivating millions for decades. He was a cinematic powerhouse whose very presence defined the essence of a larger-than-life celebrity. For years, his public image projected an unstoppable magnetic force, making him a permanent fixture in the entertainment industry's most exclusive circles. But in recent years, a devastating turn altered his trajectory. Nicholson almost completely withdrew from public life, sparking immediate industry concern. The turning point wasn't a public scandal, but a quiet, mysterious disappearance from public events. A legendary figure who once thrived in the spotlight systematically retreated behind closed doors, severing his connection with the cameras that built his empire. Investigative reports stated that the actor was battling a serious health crisis. Alarming media accounts described signs of severe memory loss, with multiple sources pointing toward a progressive dementia or Alzheimer's disease diagnosis. The aftermath forced a once great talent into absolute seclusion. The public was left to process a tragic final chapter, where an unstoppable mind was slowly dismantled. It is a chilling reminder time and illness can quietly push a legend into the shadows of oblivion. A Hollywood mastermind was forced into the shadows by an invisible enemy attacking his own memories. But what happens when an unseen threat doesn't slowly fade the mind, but strikes with a sudden, near-fatal ambush? Number 17. Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis was the ultimate cinematic symbol of American resilience. For decades, his name was synonymous with explosive action and indomitable strength, anchoring the massive Die Hard franchise. On screen, he was the untouchable hero who could survive any physical assault or impossible odds. His public image projected an aura of absolute invincibility, leading millions to believe that the man behind the stunts was just as unbreakable as his iconic characters. But in 2022, a devastating turn dismantled that heroic facade. The threat wasn't a scripted explosion, but a silent, invisible enemy attacking his brain. Early warning signs of cognitive struggles culminated in a shocking family announcement. Willis was diagnosed with aphasia, a severe condition abruptly stripping away his ability to communicate. Just 1 year later, in 2023, the timeline took a tragic final chapter when his condition aggressively progressed to frontotemporal dementia, or FTD. The ultimate action star was suddenly thrust into a real-life battle where he couldn't fight back as the cruel disease began actively stealing his memories and his ability to interact. Official accounts described a heartbreaking reality. The cognitive damage was irreversible, forcing an immediate and permanent retirement from the entertainment industry. Media outlets and former colleagues mourned the sudden loss of a Hollywood giant. The aftermath left his family grappling with a relentless decline and an industry completely shaken by the abrupt end to an illustrious career. It stands as a chilling truth: no amount of cinematic invincibility can protect a mind from the ruthless progression of an incurable neurological disease. The legendary action hero survived countless on-screen explosions, only to be defeated by a silent erasure of his own mind. But what happens when the next Hollywood titan isn't battling a slowly fading cognition, but a sudden, life-threatening medical emergency that strikes without any warning? The camera lens manufactures immortality, freezing cultural icons at the peak of their physical and mental command. Yet the biological ledger keeps its own ruthless time. Behind the armor of celebrity, a microscopic rebellion, a failing pancreas, frayed nerves, or dying neurons systematically dismantles the myth. The human organism cannot read a script. When early biological distress signals are ignored to maintain a flawless public performance, silent conditions advance past the point of medical intervention. Fame offers zero cellular immunity. But while internal biology slowly erodes the mind, other destructive forces strike from the outside, arriving with terrifying, catastrophic suddenness. Number 16. Selena Gomez. Selena Gomez was the ultimate teenage icon. With a globally adored pop career, her public image projected flawless youth and boundless energy. For years, she navigated the intense spotlight as a picture-perfect star, representing an untouchable success story where every move was seemingly choreographed for millions of adoring fans. But behind the tours, a devastating turn was quietly dismantling her physical foundation. The breaking point occurred when an invisible threat, lupus, triggered a serious health crisis. The grueling schedule masked severe complications until her body simply could no longer keep up. In 2017, the timeline reached a critical juncture when Gomez underwent a high-risk kidney transplant, utilizing an organ donated by her close friend, Francia Raisa. It was a desperate medical intervention, kept hidden from the cameras until the scars could no longer be concealed. Official accounts confirmed the harrowing extent of her autoimmune disease, coupled with severe ongoing battles with anxiety and depression. The aftermath fundamentally altered her career trajectory, exposing the hidden tragedy behind her strong facade. Her medical reality dismantled the illusion of a perfect Hollywood life, revealing a dual burden of physical and psychological trauma. It stands as a stark realization: immense wealth and global adoration cannot negotiate with a failing immune system. A teenage idol survived a biological betrayal by relying on the ultimate sacrifice of a friend. But what happens when an invincible on-screen superhero discovers a relentless returning threat etched directly into his own skin? Number 15. Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackman was the ultimate cinematic symbol of raw physical power. Globally renowned as the unstoppable Wolverine, his public image projected explosive energy and an exterior that could withstand any assault. He dominated Hollywood as an untouchable action hero representing an idealized vision of peak human resilience. Fans firmly believed the man wielding the adamantium claws was truly indestructible off-screen. But behind the blockbuster stunts, a devastating turn quietly unfolded beneath the surface. The threat wasn't a scripted enemy, but a serious health crisis attacking his own skin. A seemingly minor warning sign quickly escalated into a destructive cycle of multiple skin cancer recurrences. The timeline of his career became marked by urgent medical interventions, forcing the actor to repeatedly confront a persistent, ever-looming danger, while desperately trying to maintain a grueling Hollywood schedule. Official accounts described a series of necessary surgeries leaving permanent physical scars and deep psychological impacts. The aftermath dismantled the illusion of superhuman invulnerability, exposing the harsh reality that a muscular exterior offers zero protection against a biological threat. He transitioned from a cinematic mutant into a silent warrior, leveraging his global platform to advocate for preventative healthcare and frequent screenings. It serves as a stark reminder, even the most physically imposing icons cannot outmuscle a relentless cellular disease. An action star learned that ultimate physical conditioning cannot repel a microscopic enemy etched directly into the skin. But what happens when an unseen threat doesn't just attack the surface, but completely paralyzes the very instrument that conquered the world? Number 14. Celine Dion. Celine Dion was the undisputed vocal queen of a generation. With an angelic voice that conquered millions worldwide, her public image was built on absolute musical perfection and majestic stage presence. For decades, she navigated massive global tours representing an untouchable powerhouse whose legendary performances seemed to effortlessly defy human limits. But behind the flawless concerts, a devastating turn was secretly taking hold of her nervous system. The warning signs likely started as unexplainable muscle spasms, easily brushed off as grueling tour fatigue, before culminating in a serious health crisis. The timeline shifted drastically when the invisible enemy began actively attacking her vocal cords and restricting her mobility. It was a biological betrayal that completely derailed her demanding residency schedule, forcing a sudden, non-negotiable halt to her illustrious career as her body simply began to lock up. Official accounts eventually confirmed a diagnosis of stiff person syndrome, SPS, an exceptionally rare and progressive neurological condition. The aftermath shattered the global entertainment industry, exposing the heartbreaking reality that the disease was literally robbing her of the very voice that defined her legacy. She was forced to transition from a vibrant stage queen to someone silently battling immense physical restrictions, struggling with every single movement. It stands as a chilling realization: an artist's most precious gift can be abruptly stolen by a relentless cellular malfunction. A global icon learned that millions of adoring fans cannot stop a rare neurological condition from silencing a legendary voice. But what happens when the next star isn't fighting a physical disease, but an invisible psychological terror that attacks the very mind behind the glamour? Number 13. Ian McKellen. Ian McKellen was the cinematic embodiment of timeless power and wisdom. Globally revered for his monumental portrayal of Gandalf in the Lord of the Rings franchise, his public image projected an aura of immortality. For decades, he anchored massive fantasy epics representing a sagely figure who could command armies and withstand any dark force. Fans saw an untouchable titan of the silver screen, whose majestic presence felt truly invincible. But behind the cinematic magic, a devastating turn was quietly taking root. The threat wasn't a scripted villain, but a serious health crisis developing silently within his own body. Away from the cameras, routine medical checks uncovered an invisible enemy. McKellen was thrust into a grueling reality when he received a prostate cancer diagnosis. It was a biological ambush that immediately shifted his timeline from commanding blockbuster sets to confronting a deeply personal and concerning medical battle. Official accounts confirmed the diagnosis, forcing the legendary actor to publicly acknowledge his health struggles. The aftermath shattered the illusion of Hollywood immortality, exposing a hidden burden carried behind his sagely facade. Medical management required him to carefully navigate his condition with strength and grace, balancing his ongoing career with rigorous healthcare protocols. His ongoing journey stands as a stark realization: even the most powerful on-screen figures are ultimately tethered to the fragile realities of human biology. A cinematic wizard learned that no amount of on-screen magic can banish a relentless cellular threat. But what happens when the next Hollywood veteran isn't facing a physical tumor, but an invisible disease that directly attacks the very core of his identity. Celluloid preserves the illusion of invulnerability, capturing icons at their absolute zenith, while microscopic mutinies wage war in the background. The human machine is programmed for survival, often suppressing critical distress signals to maintain outward function. Ignoring these quiet physiological anomalies in favor of relentless professional output allows manageable conditions to silently metastasize into irreversible systemic failure. Biology does not negotiate with box office returns. But what happens when the next catastrophic breakdown targets the mind rather than the flesh? Number 12. Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage was the cinematic embodiment of wild, unpredictable genius. With a versatile and highly eccentric acting style, he conquered Hollywood and captivated audiences for decades. His public image projected an intense, larger-than-life persona, making him an untouchable force in blockbuster cinema. Fans viewed his explosive energy as pure artistic brilliance, a unique talent completely in control of his own chaotic brand. But behind the chaotic on-screen characters, a devastating turn was quietly unspooling in his personal reality. The erratic behavior wasn't merely a performance choice. It was the symptom of an invisible internal threat. A serious health crisis manifested through extreme emotional highs and terrifying lows, silently attacking his stability. The timeline reached a critical juncture when his psychological battles profoundly disrupted his demanding career, forcing him into a relentless daily struggle against his own mind. Official accounts eventually confirmed a diagnosis of bipolar disorder. This revelation fundamentally shifted the narrative, unmasking the hidden burden behind his tumultuous life and eccentric roles. He transitioned from a highly guarded superstar into a vocal advocate, utilizing his global platform to raise crucial mental health awareness. His ongoing journey reveals a harsh truth. Immense artistic talent offers no immunity against a chronic psychological condition that demands lifelong management. A Hollywood eccentric learned that an explosive on-screen persona cannot shield a fragile mind from internal chaos. But what happens when the next megastar's erratic behavior isn't driven by a mental health diagnosis, but a destructive dependency cycle that completely decimates a brilliant career? Number 11. Kim Kardashian. Kim Kardashian is the architect of the modern reality TV empire. A billionaire entrepreneur whose entire brand is built on absolute physical perfection and a luxurious, meticulously curated lifestyle. For years, she dominated global media, projecting a flawless image where every detail of her appearance was carefully controlled and monetized. The public saw an untouchable icon of modern beauty who seemingly had it all. But behind the highly filtered cameras, a serious health crisis was silently dismantling that carefully constructed image. The turning point wasn't a public scandal, but a biological rebellion. A devastating turn occurred when her own immune system began attacking her, manifesting as severe psoriasis and psoriatic arthritis. The invisible threat triggered chronic joint pain and relentless visible skin peeling, forcing the reality star into a daily, agonizing battle, often hidden beneath designer clothing. The severe physical toll fundamentally shattered the illusion of a flawless persona. Official accounts and her own public disclosures confirmed the painful reality of her autoimmune condition. The aftermath altered her relationship with her multi-billion-dollar image, forcing her to confront deep body image issues. Medical management now dictates her daily routine as she continuously navigates the intense physical pain away from the spotlight. Her ongoing struggle serves as a stark reminder: unparalleled wealth and global fame offer absolutely zero immunity against an indiscriminate biological condition. A billionaire beauty mogul learned that infinite resources cannot buy an escape from a relentless autoimmune attack. But what happens when the next cultural icon isn't facing a physical skin condition, but an irreversible neurological disease that permanently traps them in their own failing body. Number 10. Michael J. Fox. Michael J. Fox was the ultimate symbol of youthful exuberance and boundless optimism. Globally beloved as the energetic lead of the Back to the Future franchise, his image projected an unstoppable, vibrant force. He navigated Hollywood as a dynamic star representing a picture-perfect success story where limitless potential seemed guaranteed. But behind the blockbuster premieres, a devastating turn quietly disrupted his reality. In 1991, at just 29 years old, the timeline reached a critical juncture when he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. It was a biological thunderclap kept hidden from cameras for 7 years. The pressure of masking severe physical tremors forced a quiet, daily struggle against a relentless condition actively dismantling his motor control. His 1998 public disclosure confirmed the harrowing reality of his diagnosis. The aftermath completely altered his career, exposing the hidden burden carried behind his radiant smile. He transitioned from a leading man into a tireless advocate, launching a global foundation to fund neurological research. His ongoing fight serves as a stark realization: a serious health crisis can strike at the absolute peak of youth, proving that physical invincibility is an illusion. A cinematic time traveler learned that no on-screen magic can rewind a progressive biological clock. But what happens when the next beloved icon faces an aggressive, life-threatening cancer that demands an immediate battle for survival? Number 9. Ben Stiller. Ben Stiller was widely celebrated as Hollywood's most beloved comedic actor. With a track record of blockbuster hits, his public persona projected the ultimate image of a friendly, relatable, funny man. Audiences viewed him as an easygoing entertainer, an architect of laughter whose entire brand relied on his cheerful, down-to-earth charm. But behind closed doors, a devastating turn shattered that curated illusion. The reality of working with the legend involved navigating an extreme, difficult-to-please personality driven by unbelievably petty demands. The timeline of his hidden behavior reached a shocking climax when he allegedly flew into an uncontrollable rage in a restaurant over a trivial detail: his Diet Coke did not contain 2 identical ice cubes. This disturbing tantrum exposed an impatient perfectionist tyrant who even forced his personal assistant to physically stand in an empty parking spot to guard it. Industry accounts confirmed a chilling contrast between his humorous characters and his demanding, real-life temperament. The aftermath of these leaked stories fundamentally altered his reputation behind the scenes. The public was forced to reconcile his friendly, cinematic image with the reality of a star exhibiting extreme selfishness and unwarranted anger. It serves as a stark reminder a talent for comedy can easily mask a deeply toxic ego. A beloved comedian proved that making the world laugh cannot conceal a terrorizing behind-the-scenes persona. But what happens when the next megastar's explosive ego isn't confined to a restaurant, but erupts on a live global broadcast, completely hijacking a fellow artist's defining moment? The public persona is a carefully engineered defense mechanism designed to conceal systemic internal collapse. Whether it is misfiring brain chemistry, an autoimmune revolt, or the unchecked toxicity born from absolute power, the human operating system eventually fractures under the weight of maintaining a flawless facade. We worship these polished avatars of fame, willfully ignoring the severe psychological and biological tolls exacted behind closed doors, proving that immense pressure always finds a destructive outlet. But what happens when the mask does not just slip in private, but shatters violently on a live global broadcast? Number 8. Jeff Bridges. Jeff Bridges was the ultimate cinematic embodiment of effortless cool. Universally beloved as the dude from The Big Lebowski, the Oscar-winning actor projected an unshakable, laid-back aura that captivated generations of fans. For decades, he navigated Hollywood as a highly respected veteran whose on-screen resilience seemed to perfectly mirror his stable, relaxed, real-life persona. He was a pillar of the industry, seemingly untouchable by the typical chaos of stardom. But away from the movie sets, a devastating turn quietly disrupted his peaceful reality. The threat wasn't a sudden accident, but a silent, aggressive biological ambush. Fans were left stunned when a medical timeline culminated in a terrifying announcement: a serious health crisis had emerged. Bridges was abruptly diagnosed with lymphoma, forcing the famously relaxed actor into an immediate, anxiety-filled battle for survival. The invisible enemy demanded a grueling regimen, replacing his easygoing days with intense, high-stakes medical interventions. Official accounts later confirmed a miraculous recovery, announcing that the actor had successfully entered remission. The aftermath completely reshaped his public narrative, exposing the intense vulnerability behind his cool exterior. He transitioned from a beloved cinematic icon into a powerful symbol of perseverance, utilizing his optimistic spirit to inspire others facing similar battles. His survival stands as a stark realization: a sudden, life-threatening illness can strike even the most unbothered legends, leaving haunting memories of a life-or-death struggle. An Oscar winner fought his way back from a cellular ambush with an unyielding spirit. But what happens when the next Hollywood icon isn't facing a treatable cancer, but an incurable neurological decline that slowly erases a lifetime of memories? Number 7. Tim Curry. Tim Curry was the cinematic icon of flamboyance and explosive energy. Globally celebrated for his legendary role in the Rocky Horror Picture Show, his public image projected an unstoppable, dynamic force. He dominated the screen with his powerful voice and theatrical presence. Fans saw a monumental figure possessing an infinite supply of vibrant energy. But in 2012, a devastating turn suddenly disrupted his reality. The threat was a silent, aggressive, biological ambush. The timeline reached a shocking juncture when a massive stroke unexpectedly attacked him. It was a serious health crisis that immediately halted his dynamic performances, plunging the actor into a grueling emergency. The sudden strike fundamentally targeted his nervous system, actively stripping away the motor skills and vocal power that built his career. Official accounts confirmed the severe aftermath. The stroke permanently confined the once explosive star to a wheelchair. Medical realities forced him to navigate extreme physical limitations, significantly altering his iconic voice and mobility. Yet he transitioned into a resilient survivor, bravely returning to participate in voiceover projects. His journey serves as a stark realization: a sudden biological event can instantly rewrite a physical trajectory, demanding courage to adapt. A theatrical legend proved that boundless on-screen energy cannot outrun a neurological strike. But what happens when the next Hollywood veteran faces a rare blood cancer that forces an experimental high-stakes battle for survival? Number 6. Hugh Laurie. Hugh Laurie was the ultimate television embodiment of medical genius. Globally celebrated for his brilliant, detached portrayal of Dr. Gregory House, his public image projected an aura of supreme intellect and clinical control. For years, he dominated the screen as a cynical diagnostician who could solve any impossible medical puzzle, making audiences believe the actor himself possessed an untouchable, calculated resilience. But away from the fictional hospital sets, a devastating turn was quietly rewriting his personal reality. The threat wasn't a scripted medical mystery, but a serious health crisis unfolding within his own body. A medical examination confirmed an invisible, lifelong enemy: type 1 diabetes. This biological ambush immediately shifted his timeline, forcing the actor into an urgent, unyielding regimen. The sudden reality demanded absolute discipline and constant attention to his health, completely shattering the illusion of his untouchable television persona. Official accounts described a grueling new normal, where strict daily monitoring became a matter of survival. The aftermath forced the iconic actor to navigate the exact kind of chronic condition his famous character would treat. His daily life transformed into a calculated, silent battle of continuous health management behind closed doors. His journey serves as a stark realization: mastering medical dialogue on camera offers zero protection against a relentless biological reality. A legendary television doctor learned that no script can cure a chronic cellular betrayal. But what happens when the next beloved icon doesn't face a manageable physical condition, but an aggressive, progressive disease that systematically strips away their entire physical autonomy? Number 5. Kristen Stewart. Kristen Stewart was the undisputed face of a global pop culture phenomenon. With her unique style and melancholic presence, she skyrocketed to unprecedented fame, becoming a massive idol overnight. Her public image projected a cool, untouchable star who had easily conquered Hollywood. Fans saw an incredibly successful actress who seemingly had absolute control over her thriving career trajectory. But behind the relentless paparazzi flashes, a devastating turn was quietly taking root. The threat wasn't a physical disease, but a crushing psychological burden triggered by intense public scrutiny. A serious health crisis manifested as severe anxiety, initiating a silent war within her own mind. The overwhelming pressure of massive fame forced the young actress to secretly grapple with intense fears and crippling insecurities while actively maintaining her stoic public facade. Official public disclosures eventually confirmed the exhausting reality of her condition, unmasking the dark truth about the extreme pressures of celebrity life. The aftermath transformed her from a guarded megastar into a vocal advocate for mental health awareness. Her ongoing battle serves as a stark realization: immense wealth and global adoration offer absolutely zero protection against an invisible internal terror that demands constant psychological management. A Hollywood idol learned that an untouchable persona cannot shield a vulnerable mind from the crushing weight of fame. But what happens when the next star isn't fighting a psychological battle, but a relentless physical condition, demanding risky organ transplants just to survive? The archives of human achievement operate on a dangerous premise that brilliance insulates the physical body. It does not. Whether it is a sudden vascular strike, a metabolic revolt, or crippling psychological pressure, human biology remains ruthlessly democratic. We demand our icons function at an unsustainable frequency, ignoring the physiological debt accruing beneath the spotlight. True survival requires recognizing that baseline biology cannot be outworked or outacted. The camera merely captures a performance, but the cellular ledger always collects its toll. What transpires when the next betrayal targets a failing, irreplaceable organ? Number 4. Emilia Clarke. Emilia Clarke was the fierce and untouchable mother of dragons. Globally revered for her defining role in the massive Game of Thrones franchise, her public image projected absolute strength and invincibility. She navigated the peak of television history as a conquering queen, representing an empowered icon who commanded armies and ruled the screen. Fans saw a young, unstoppable actress seemingly in total control of her skyrocketing career. But away from the fantasy sets a devastating turn quietly ambushed her reality. The threat wasn't a scripted battle, but a sudden serious health crisis inside her own head. At the absolute height of her fame, the timeline reached a terrifying juncture when she suffered 2 brain aneurysms. These were near-death moments that struck without warning, instantly halting her grueling production schedule. The invisible biological strike forced the conquering queen into a desperate, real-life fight for her own survival, completely shattering the illusion of her on-screen invincibility. Official accounts confirmed the horrifying severity of the medical emergencies. The aftermath left her with unhealing emotional wounds and a lingering fear of imminent death. She transitioned from a fantasy ruler into a grounded warrior, utilizing her global platform to advocate for brain injury awareness. Her harrowing survival stands as a chilling truth. Unprecedented fame and television dominance offer zero protection against a sudden, life-threatening internal collapse. A television queen crossed the threshold of life and death, proving that on-screen dragons cannot conquer biological fragility. But what happens when the next musical legend doesn't face a sudden brain injury, but a relentless autoimmune disease that slowly locks away her ability to move? Number 3. Jason Isaacs. Jason Isaacs was the cinematic embodiment of aristocratic menace. Globally recognized for his chilling portrayal of Lucius Malfoy in the massive Harry Potter franchise, his public image projected absolute, calculated power. For years, he dominated the screen as a formidable villain, projecting an aura of untouchable authority and cold control that captivated millions of fans worldwide. But away from the blockbuster fantasies, as a devastating turn quietly ambushed his reality. The threat wasn't a scripted enemy, but an incredibly rare and silent biological strike. The timeline reached a terrifying juncture when a medical examination revealed a serious health crisis. Isaacs was abruptly diagnosed with male breast cancer. This unexpected ambush immediately shifted his focus from commanding film sets to facing an urgent life-or-death battle. The invisible enemy forced the formidable on-screen villain to confront a deeply terrifying and intensely personal vulnerability behind closed doors. Official accounts later confirmed he successfully survived the harrowing ordeal. The aftermath completely altered his public narrative, transforming him from a guarded actor into a vocal advocate. He bravely utilized his story to break the intense stigma surrounding male breast cancer, offering crucial support to others facing the exact same terrifying diagnosis. His survival stands as a stark realization. A sudden, life-threatening illness can strike anyone at any time, proving that even the most formidable on-screen figures are bound by biological fragility. A cinematic villain learned that a rare cellular threat is far more terrifying than any fictional magic. But what happens when the next beloved television star doesn't face a treatable tumor, but a progressive neurological decline that systematically locks away his physical autonomy? Number 2. Avril Lavigne. Avril Lavigne was the undisputed pop-punk princess of a generation. With her rebellious style and powerful voice, she dominated the early 2000s music scene, projecting an image of boundless, defiant youth. Her public persona was built on raw energy and unstoppable momentum, making her a global idol who seemed entirely immune to the typical vulnerabilities of the industry. Fans saw an incredibly successful artist who possessed absolute control over her thriving career trajectory. But behind the platinum records, a devastating turn quietly hijacked her reality. The threat wasn't a career misstep, but an invisible biological ambush. Without warning, severe and unexplainable symptoms began to dismantle her stamina. Relentless fatigue and chronic physical pain forced her into a sudden, mysterious disappearance from the public eye. The timeline reached a critical juncture when this serious health crisis grounded her completely, threatening to permanently end her dynamic career as her body simply shut down under the weight of an unidentified enemy. Official medical accounts eventually confirmed a diagnosis of Lyme disease, a lingering, debilitating condition often easily dismissed or overlooked in its early stages. The aftermath forced the once energetic star into a grueling, isolated battle for survival. Although she ultimately made a strong return to the spotlight, the experience permanently altered her trajectory, transforming her from a carefree icon into a silent warrior and vocal advocate for others facing mysterious health battles. Her harrowing journey stands as a stark realization. A microscopic threat, can silently dismantle an empire of youth and energy if early warning signs remain undetected. A pop-punk icon learned that rebellious energy offers zero defense against a silent cellular invasion. But what happens when the next chart-topping diva isn't fighting a tick-borne illness, but an aggressive autoimmune condition that systematically attacks her own organs from the inside out? Number 1. George Clooney. George Clooney was the ultimate architect of Hollywood magnetism. Globally celebrated as a powerhouse actor and producer, his public image projected untouchable charm and effortless sophistication. He navigated the global spotlight as an absolute A-list titan. Fans saw an invincible leading man who had completely mastered the grueling entertainment industry. But away from the flashing red carpet cameras, a devastating turn quietly ambushed his reality. The threat wasn't a career misstep, but an invisible biological strike. Without warning, a serious health crisis forced the superstar into a silent life-or-death battle. The timeline reached a terrifying juncture when he was suddenly struck down by a severe bout of meningitis. This unexpected emergency immediately halted his momentum, demanding extreme endurance, as his body fought an internal war hidden entirely from the public eye. Official accounts confirmed the harrowing severity of this near-death experience. While he successfully overcame the horrific ordeal and resumed his illustrious career, the aftermath left deep psychological imprints. He transitioned back into the spotlight, carrying the unseen weight of intense human vulnerability. It stands as a chilling realization: immense wealth and worldwide adoration offer absolutely zero immunity against a sudden, life-threatening medical emergency. A Hollywood icon survived a microscopic ambush, proving unparalleled fame cannot negotiate with biology. But what happens when the next legendary star isn't fighting an acute infection, but an aggressive cancer systematically targeting his own voice? Behind the locked doors of guarded hospital wings and VIP trailers, the Hollywood illusion collapses. Millions cannot bribe a deteriorating mind, nor can blockbuster fame justify relentless psychological abuse. We worship icons oblivious to the monstrous egos and medical sentences destroying them behind closed doors. You are examining the restricted files of the tragic reels, a documented timeline of disturbing tragedies, exposing the true cost of stardom. But the most unsettling footage is yet to play. What happens when an untouchable cinematic hero, a man paid a fortune to portray justice on screen, uses his unchecked power to mercilessly break the very crew, keeping him in focus? Closing the archives of the tragic reels, a stark reality emerges from these disturbing tragedies. Fame provides no armor against biological collapse or psychological ruin. When suffocating isolation collides with absolute power, the human spirit either shatters quietly or weaponizes its pain against others. We idolize perfection, ignoring the desperate red flags of mental deterioration. Survival demands aggressive accountability and immediate psychological intervention before the breaking point. True strength is never found in maintaining a flawless theatrical mask. It exists in the terrifying courage to step away from the applause, dismantle the destructive ego, and beg for a lifeline when control slips away.
Country should feel terribly guilty about anything because they have had a better life here and their fathers and mothers than they would have had any place else.
One comment, one interview, one resurfaced clip. That is all it takes for a carefully built empire to collapse in front of the world. In Hollywood, fame is never just about talent. It is about image control and the secrets powerful people hope will stay buried forever. Today, we are exposing the Hollywood scandals that turned global icons into cautionary tales, from controversial remarks and leaked tapes to public backlash that permanently changed their legacies. You are watching Hollywood's Stars and Scars, where we uncover the dark side of fame, the price of public exposure, and the moments when untouchable stars finally lost control of their own stories. Number 15. Henry Ford. The industrialist's controversial ideology. Henry Ford single-handedly transformed the landscape of American production, constructing a towering industrial empire anchored by the moving assembly line and the historic $5 daily wage. To the public eye, he emerged as the definitive savior of the everyday laborer, a formidable corporate titan delivering the promise of prosperity straight to the working class. Beyond the highly polished image of the factory floor, a far more sinister reality began to take shape. Ford weaponized his immense wealth and media influence to establish the Dearborn Independent, transforming the publication into a personal megaphone for aggressive anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. His radical rhetoric grew so intense that it eventually caught the attention of Adolf Hitler, who openly praised the American industrialist. Within the walls of his manufacturing plants, the industrialist implemented aggressive, highly invasive initiatives. He authorized private investigators to breach the domestic lives of his workforce, monitoring their homes and demanding they cast aside their native heritages to conform. This corporate control extended to the factory floor, where strict racial segregation was enforced and any attempt at union resistance was violently extinguished. This corporate tyranny reached a violent flashpoint during the infamous 1937 Battle of the Overpass, where labor organizers demanding fundamental workplace protections were met with brutal, calculated aggression. Today, the uncompromising perspective of modern history strips away the industrialist's philanthropic facade. Contemporary accounts evaluate his lasting impact not merely by the automobiles he rolled off the assembly line, but by the radical prejudices circulated through his media platform. He engineered an unparalleled manufacturing monopoly, only to leave it permanently compromised by the dark undercurrents of his own beliefs. He engineered machines that propelled global society into the future, even as his private convictions fed the darkest impulses of human animosity. Yet if the spectacle of an insulated billionaire financing global propaganda feels chilling, it pales in comparison to the moment America's most celebrated Southern culinary matriarch stepped into a cold federal courtroom and willingly confessed to the unimaginable. Number 14. Roseanne Barr. The 280-character demise. In 2018, Roseanne Barr pulled off a historic resurrection that defied the brutal odds of the modern entertainment industry. After lingering completely dark for over 2 decades, her classic sitcom was handed a record-breaking network revival, marking one of the most stunning comebacks in the history of Hollywood scandals and triumphs. The American public immediately responded to this massive television event, driving the premiere to numbers ABC had not witnessed in over 10 years. Almost overnight, she sat atop the highest-rated program in the country, wielding massive industry influence and generating staggering ad revenue for a major media empire. Then a single late-night digital transmission shattered her entire empire. Barr logged into Twitter and voluntarily engineered a fatal online encounter. She published a post directed at former government official Valerie Jarrett, an act that triggered immediate nationwide condemnation and went down as one of the most explosive celebrity secrets to blow up in the modern era. The veteran performer drew a direct, explicit comparison between the prominent woman of color and a character from the Planet of the Apes franchise. Within a single text box, decades of deeply offensive historical prejudice were condensed into a devastating digital footprint. Using a massive global platform to broadcast toxic language directly to millions, she completely abandoned her professional filter, triggering an immediate and unrecoverable industry nightmare. The corporate execution struck without a single moment of hesitation. Network executives immediately recognized the undeniable toxicity radiating from her account. ABC mercilessly wiped the most profitable show on television completely off the schedule, enforcing a permanent, immediate cancellation that proved nobody is truly safe from a sudden, self-inflicted, tragic downfall. In an instant, the livelihoods of hundreds of innocent cast and crew members were completely destroyed. As the walls closed in, Barr scrambled desperately to survive the escalating fallout. She pushed out frantic public apologies and aggressively blamed her toxic words on the sedative effects of Ambien, but the desperate defense could not halt her rapid, ruinous career collapse. When the public completely rejected that desperate medical defense, her remorse turned to rage, and she furiously attacked her own co-stars for speaking out against her. The industry response was absolute, forcing her into permanent professional exile. In a matter of hours, she had executed her own legendary legacy completely by her own hand, leaving behind a stark warning about the true hidden price of fame. She resurrected a multi-million-dollar television empire from the dead, only to reduce it to ashes with a single midnight keystroke. But while a sitcom legend executing her own historic comeback remains one of the ultimate Hollywood scandals, it pales in comparison to the time a notorious radio shock jock took a simple photograph in Times Square, instantly detonating his 20-year career in a fit of unfiltered rage. Number 13. John Mayer. The Playboy interview catastrophe. John Mayer once stood at the absolute pinnacle of the American music landscape. He solidified his position as a premier force in modern pop culture, celebrated simultaneously as an elite, untouchable master of the guitar. Hordes of dedicated followers tracked his every step with absolute devotion. He leveraged a highly profitable personal empire on a foundation of polarizing charisma, carrying himself with the supreme confidence of an elite icon who assumed his status shielded him from any real consequences. In March, a devastating print interview utterly shattered that invincible public image. Speaking with Playboy magazine for a major feature, journalists questioned the musician directly about the demographics of his dating life. Rather than offering a safe corporate response, Mayer exposed a racially charged perspective that instantly triggered a massive Hollywood scandal. He openly equated his personal romantic preferences to white supremacy, delivering alienating commentary regarding black women that deeply unsettled the public. This underlying bias was masked as a provocative joke, a high-stakes gamble driven by pure arrogance. He mistakenly assumed his connection with marginalized audiences granted him total immunity, choosing to exploit his massive platform to broadcast a catastrophic failed attempt at subversive wit. The international condemnation ignited with terrifying speed. Analysts of racial dynamics dissected his words, diagnosing the commentary as a disastrous breakdown of edgy irony. This wave of public fury fractured his bulletproof rock star mystique, forcing Mayer into immediate exile. The broken star eventually faced a massive concert crowd to offer a humiliating public surrender. He confessed to a devastating reality, admitting his own unfiltered mouth was his ultimate enemy, while declaring he was completely finished with the media game. His tragic downfall exposed the hidden price of fame, proving that immense musical genius can never shield a celebrity from the brutal consequences of their own arrogance. For years, he convinced himself that a sixth string offered absolute immunity, only to dismantle his hard-won legacy with one devastating press statement. Yet, if an iconic rock star imploding on the printed page sounds grim, it pales in comparison to a legendary guitar virtuoso who who completely leveled his untouchable empire during a single, disastrous magazine interview. This was a catastrophic career collapse, a raw look at the dark side of fame. But the hidden price of perfection runs even deeper when you uncover the deeply unsettling reality echoing beneath the world's most comforting Christmas melodies. Number 12. Bing Crosby, The Holiday Melody's Dark Roots. Bing Crosby embodied the definitive spirit of the traditional American holiday season. Armed with an unmatched velvet voice, he forged a massive entertainment empire, ruling as the supreme force of mid-20th century music and cinema. Countless households placed unwavering faith in that velvety baritone and charming grin, granting him unrivaled cultural authority. He engineered a flawless facade of festive comfort, capturing national airwaves and silver screens alike. This ultimate wholesome patriarch commanded absolute, unquestioning devotion from a deeply trusting public. Yet a chilling reality operated behind those festive harmonies. Despite showcasing a highly publicized alliance with legendary black icon Louis Armstrong, Crosby willingly participated in entertainment traditions now recognized as deeply offensive and racially insensitive. The legendary star repeatedly stepped into the shadows, donning deeply offensive blackface makeup throughout his celebrated career. A definitive line was crossed in the 1954 cinematic blockbuster White Christmas. Crosby deliberately delivered a major production of Mandy, a musical sequence directly rooted in the cruel mockery of historical minstrel traditions. Multiple archival accounts and historical records expose a darker reality, raising alarms over racially charged language from that era. He reinforced destructive, prejudiced caricatures while collecting massive studio paychecks, directly broadcasting the normalized biases of old Hollywood into the heart of mainstream American culture. Modern historical reckonings have thoroughly dismantled that flawless festive illusion. Investigators pulled back the curtain on his legendary music catalog, revealing a dark undercurrent. This casual broadcast of prejudice forces audiences to confront an incredibly uncomfortable reality. It stands as definitive proof that even our most comforting holiday hymns carry the heavy baggage of a deeply fractured nation. These documented choices left a permanent stain on his monumental cultural footprint, twisting the golden voice of Christmas into a haunting monument of Hollywood's deeply compromised, prejudiced past. He marketed a flawless, snowy holiday fantasy while masking a deeply compromised reality right before our eyes. But if a legendary music icon guarding industry secrets feels unsettling, wait until you witness a pristine television superhero trigger a sudden, tragic downfall, shattering their own heroic future through a sequence of alarming, unearthed social media posts. Number 11. Lea Michele, The Choir Girl's Microaggressions. As the breakout star of the global television phenomenon Glee, Lea Michele commanded the pop culture landscape. Behind the scenes, she fiercely engineered a flawless, pristine choir girl persona for millions of adoring fans. This meticulously engineered, spotless reputation commanded immense leverage and lucrative brand endorsements. Industry power players fully trusted her to market a flawless illusion of unity, anchoring her status at the very peak of the Hollywood hierarchy. In May 2020, a single online post shattered the illusion. Attempting to ride the wave of a massive national social justice movement, Michele shared a hollow statement of public solidarity. The performative gesture instantly backfired, triggering a devastating Hollywood scandal. Former co-star Samantha Ware shattered the industry's silence, exposing the grim reality of Michelle's behind-the-scenes behavior. Ware detailed severe racially charged threats and relentless microaggressions that twisted her very first television role into an absolute living hell. Additional cast members soon validated aspects of Ware's account. This celebrated pure choir girl suddenly faced grave accusations of cultivating a toxic workplace, extreme entitlement, and psychological intimidation. The corporate backlash struck without warning. Michelle scrambled to issue a public apology but completely fumbled the execution. She alienated her victims further by claiming she had no memory of the behavior. The public fury was absolute and merciless. Corporate giants executed a brutal, instantaneous retreat to shield their own assets. Major allies like HelloFresh severed lucrative contracts overnight, publicly condemning the alleged discriminatory behavior. The media completely tore away her pristine facade. The dark side of fame stood exposed, leaving her wholesome image permanently shattered and an untouchable career in total ruins. On camera, she belted out anthems of unity, yet the moment production stopped, she allegedly subjected her colleagues to relentless hostility. But if a choir girl ruling a toxic set exposes the dark side of fame, watch how a pristine television superhero completely vaporized his career with a trail of hidden social media posts. Number 10. Don Imus, the Radio King's fatal broadcast. For 30 years, Don Imus owned the American Morning Drive. He erected an unassailable media empire, commanding the airwaves through a deeply polarizing persona that constantly weaponized controversy. Day after day, a massive, dedicated audience solidified his position as the undisputed ruler of shock radio. Operating with supreme hubris, he easily weathered routine public backlash. Imus wore the reputation of a provocative broadcaster defined by offensive comedy, continually sidestepping fallout to remain an untouchable media titan. In 2007, that perceived invincibility shattered completely. During a live nationwide broadcast, Imus single-handedly engineered a fatal media disaster. He directed a toxic, racially charged slur straight at the Rutgers women's college basketball team. The live microphone exposed his unfiltered bias to millions of listeners in real time. Imus crossed an irreversible boundary, shifting an edgy morning routine into a catastrophic Hollywood scandal. He handed the public an indefensible offense, sparking a statement that drew immediate condemnation as both deeply racist and sexist. The corporate backlash materialized with brutal speed. Desperate executives at NBC and CBS initially attempted to defuse the crisis with a minor 2-week suspension, hoping the tidal wave of public anger would just fade away. They completely misjudged the collective fury. Prominent civil rights leaders Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson mobilized relentless campaigns. They cornered corporate leadership, fiercely demanding maximum consequences for the host. The suffocating pressure forced both networks to permanently sever all ties, instantly stripping this radio king of his crown. His legendary 30-year media dominance met a grim professional execution overnight. Imus proved exactly how fast a live microphone turns a single offensive remark into a ruined career, utterly obliterating a multi-million-dollar legacy. He convinced himself he commanded the airwaves, only to learn that a live microphone extracts the ultimate toll. If a radio giant erasing his legacy in moments is chilling, wait until we unmask the toxic darkness lurking behind the smiling face of Hollywood's ultimate good guy. Number 9. James Stewart. The good guy's a disputed side of the good guy image. To the public, Jimmy Stewart was the definitive symbol of American virtue. The Academy Award winner and decorated veteran built an immaculate reputation, portraying the quintessential honest citizen idolized by millions as the patriotic face of an entire generation. Yet behind the scenes, a darker reality threatened to shatter that perfect image. Lesser-known modern accounts have since exposed unsettling allegations about his private conduct, revealing a hidden side to the beloved icon. Reports surface from the set of a 1971 television sitcom where Stewart reportedly issued an aggressive ultimatum demanding the immediate firing of black actor Hal Williams. Whispers from industry insiders point to a volatile environment with unverified reports of offensive language on the sets of his classic westerns, though these accounts lack definitive documentation. This friction eventually breached his closest circle. A fierce political rift pushed Stewart over the edge, igniting a shocking physical confrontation with his lifelong best friend, Henry Fonda. Modern history permanently shattered that wholesome neighbor persona. Investigators and industry insiders pulled back the curtain, exposing his unsettling behind-the-scenes conduct to the world. The illusion shattered, forcing loyal audiences who blindly trusted his moral compass to face a harsh, undeniable prejudice. That immaculate reputation met a devastating historical reckoning, forever tarnished by the hostility that surfaced the exact moment the studio cameras stopped rolling. He projected the perfect screen savior, while quietly fracturing that wholesome illusion in the shadows. But if the hidden corruption of a cinema icon is unsettling, it pales in comparison to a morning television titan who completely incinerated a $69 million contract live on national airwaves. Number 8. Megyn Kelly, The Morning Show. Disconnect. Megyn Kelly once scaled the absolute apex of broadcast journalism, commanding the screen as a fierce, unyielding anchor. To secure her loyalty, network executives handed her an astonishing $69 million contract, locking her into prime-time power. Network executives anointed her the definitive new face of NBC morning television. She commanded staggering public influence, broadcasting an unshakable image of absolute authority to millions of daily viewers. Despite clear warning signs regarding her polarizing history with race, including a declaration that Santa Claus must be white, executives staked their multi-million-dollar gamble entirely on her reputation. In October 2018, that massive broadcasting empire suffered a fatal on-air collision. During a live national Halloween broadcast, Kelly hosted an all-white panel and ignited a catastrophic Hollywood scandal. She openly defended the historically painful tradition of blackface. Staring directly into the camera lens, she questioned why modern culture found the offensive caricature so deeply problematic. She trivialized a century of American racial trauma and systemic mockery just to defend a holiday disguise. In seconds, her pristine reputation dissolved into a widely condemned display of cultural ignorance. This stark blindness to historic pain broadcasted the dark side of fame straight into millions of living rooms. The corporate axe fell with brutal, instantaneous speed. Kelly desperately engineered a two-part containment strategy, sending a frantic network-wide email claiming she merely rejected political correctness, followed by a tearful on-air apology the very next day. The containment strategy failed completely. NBC executives severed the multi-million-dollar lifeline without hesitation, pulling her from the airwaves and filling her coveted time slot with old reruns. The erasure was absolute. In a brutal display of corporate survival, a legendary run collapsed into a tragic downfall over one catastrophic lapse in awareness. After locking down the largest salary in morning television history, she shattered an unassailable legacy with her own live words. Number 7. Walt Disney, The Magician's Bias. Walt Disney forged a global entertainment empire fueled by childhood innocence and cinematic dreams. For decades, the mastermind behind Mickey Mouse loomed as an unassailable cultural titan, selling the public a flawless, wholesome image that wrapped an entire generation in comfortable nostalgia. Yet beneath that smiling mascot, the illusion fractured. Former animators like Bill Melendez, alongside ex-staff and modern commentators, exposed a compromised legacy driving the corporate gears. Behind the scenes, this magic kingdom harbored severe discriminatory hiring practices. By 1938, corporate leadership dispatched an unyielding response barring women entirely from creative tracks. Beyond internal bias, Disney maintained deeply unsettling interactions with a notorious 1930s German filmmaker. A series of early productions later drew heavy scrutiny for offensive caricatures and outdated stereotypes embedded in celebrated releases like Dumbo and Song of the South. The whimsical presentation effectively obscured a studio culture deeply aligned with the exclusionary prejudices of that era. Inevitably, time forced the vault open. Modern analysts dragged these buried prejudices into the light, fracturing a pristine reputation. This exposure left a permanent stain on the pioneer's legacy, unmasking the dark side of fame. The multi-billion-dollar empire endured a fierce internal crisis, scrambling to scrub its history before appointing Floyd Norman as its first African-American animator in 1957. He sold millions of polished fantasy while running an organization built on systematic exclusion. But if the compromised legacy of an entertainment titan is staggering, wait until an industrial giant shapes the American working class only to finance a dangerous radical ideology. Even worse, witness America's most celebrated Southern culinary queen offer a devastating voluntary confession within the cold walls of a federal courtroom. Number 6. Paula Deen, The Southern Empire's Collapse. Prior to 2013, Paula Deen commanded a vast, highly profitable culinary empire, presenting the American public an immaculate illusion of warm, grandmotherly Southern charm. Countless viewers bought into this comforting on-screen character, granting her absolute dominion over hit broadcast shows and thriving restaurants. It was a flawless front of hospitality that secured the total devotion of a global audience. A single workplace harassment lawsuit sparked a devastating legal reckoning, exposing the dark side of fame. A former restaurant manager forced the television icon to face intense questioning under oath. Instead of shielding her wholesome persona, Deen openly admitted to the past use of racial slurs during a sworn legal deposition. The celebrity chef confessed to using harsh historical racial slurs and permitting derogatory humor inside her own establishments. The Hollywood scandal intensified when she described a controversial wedding concept detailing a deeply troubling desire to stage a traditional Old South plantation-themed event. Her vision demanded an exclusively black waitstaff, confined to vintage white jackets and black bow ties. Right there on the witness stand, she utterly dismantled her meticulously engineered illusion. Instant public shock vaporized her multi-million-dollar empire overnight. This Hollywood scandal forced corporate sponsors and television networks to immediately sever all professional ties. Deen frantically flooded the internet with weeping apology videos. Yet audiences instantly recognized the raw panic of a cornered celebrity feeling these tearful statements completely failed to confront the deeper underlying crisis. Devastated viewers permanently severed their trust, cementing a ruined career for the former television queen. Her crown in the entertainment world was gone forever. She amassed a vast fortune marketing Southern hospitality, only to incinerate her entire legacy with her own sworn testimony. Yet if a beloved star destroying her kingdom in a public Hollywood scandal is shocking, wait until you uncover the dark celebrity secrets on a disturbing tape, a global teen idol buried deep inside a multi-million-dollar vault. Number 5. Justin Bieber, The leaked chainsaw tape. Justin Bieber hijacked the global music industry with terrifying speed. Virtually overnight, a wholesome 13-year-old discovered on YouTube morphed into the most powerful teenage superstar on Earth. A fanatical army of devotees emptied international arenas in mere minutes. Behind the scenes, corporate handlers engineered a flawless, hyper-profitable pop persona worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Before he even crossed into adulthood, the entire world sat in his palm. Right then, a devastating digital ghost surfaced from the dark. Just as Bieber spiraled into a chaotic wave of Hollywood scandals, navigating a Florida DUI arrest, a Toronto assault case, and a costly neighborhood vandalism probe, a British newspaper unmasked the unthinkable. They exposed a hidden private video recorded back in 2011. The unedited footage caught the young pop idol casually unleashing a deeply offensive racist joke. He repeatedly uttered a severe racial slur, aggressively mimicking disturbing chainsaw sounds to amuse his immediate inner circle. Those inside his inner circle instantly recognized the catastrophic danger. Faint background voices desperately tried to halt the recording, but he pushed forward regardless of the visible unease around him. In a single moment, the pristine facade evaporated, exposing the dark side of fame. The sudden revelation sent shockwaves ripping through the global music empire. This brutal leak forced his corporate PR machinery into a desperate damage control tailspin. Investigative journalists unmasked a chilling reality his own handlers already recognized: the offensive footage, and allegedly advised him to neutralize the damage by substituting the slur with the word motorcycle. Public outrage violently tore away his wholesome mask, forcing the icon to face a brutal reality. The crisis proved that immense wealth and unprecedented fame offer no protection when buried recordings resurface to destroy a legacy years later. He erected a billion-dollar empire on a pristine pop persona, triggering a tragic downfall caught entirely on a hidden camera. Number 4. Abby Lee Miller. The reality star's performative fall. For 8 consecutive seasons, Abby Lee Miller commanded the reality television landscape with absolute authority. As the notoriously ruthless force behind Dance Moms, she engineered a lucrative empire built on pure intimidation, demanding flawless perfection from the young dancers under her control. By 2020, a major television comeback appeared well within her grasp. Network executives handed her a brand new series, Abby's Virtual Dance-Off, positioning the controversial figure to reclaim the mainstream spotlight. In June 2020, a single upload sparked a devastating industry backlash. Attempting to align with a massive national social justice movement, Miller posted a performative black square on Instagram. The gesture, meant to project solidarity, backfired instantly when former cast members exposed the reality behind the scenes, detonating her fragile television comeback. Former cast members shattered the industry's silence. Parents stepped forward to expose a documented history of severe racial microaggressions, bringing forth public allegations that revealed exactly how Miller mocked their socioeconomic backgrounds. She weaponized deeply offensive stereotypes, directly telling a black mother that she grew up in the hood with 8 crayons, while Miller enjoyed a country club lifestyle with 64. In a swift backlash, former participants seized the opportunity to share their own personal experiences and broadcast the extreme hostility defining her empire. Corporate retribution struck instantly, cementing a sudden, tragic downfall. Lifetime executed a swift cancellation, pulling her upcoming series before a single episode ever aired, and permanently severing all professional ties. Desperate Instagram apologies failed to contain the escalating industry fallout. The public permanently stripped away her tough love persona, leaving a ruined career as the disgraced instructor faced total exile from mainstream television. The scandal exposed an undeniable reality. Systemic allegations of racial insensitivity will always completely bury a hollow act of performative activism. While she demanded flawless execution from her cast, she systematically engineered her own public destruction online. Number 3. Walter Brennan, the Grandpas. The politics behind the grandpa image. Walter Brennan commanded the golden age of Hollywood, capturing 3 historic Academy Awards. He forged a massive legacy masked by gentle family comedies, classic westerns, and an undeniable folksy charm. Across millions of American living rooms, that soothing voice and familiar gaze commanded absolute trust. He expertly projected the flawless image of a wholesome grandfather, a pristine, squeaky clean persona that the entire entertainment industry fully embraced for decades. Beneath that reassuring grandfather persona lay a man governed by deeply radical political convictions. Away from the cameras, Brennan fiercely opposed the civil rights movement, aggressively denouncing the fight for equality as a dangerous communist conspiracy, while embedding himself within the extremist John Birch society. More disturbingly, he weaponized his beloved on-screen identity, channeling his massive public platform to broadcast ideologies that critics later labeled as racially and politically extreme. His internal paranoia eventually consumed him. Deep within his own home, he erected a heavily fortified survivalist bunker, desperately preparing for a Soviet invasion. When iconic civil rights leaders met, tragic, untimely ends during this turbulent era, Brennan exposed the dark side of fame. His public reactions drew severe criticism for their cold insensitivity, broadcasting a chilling indifference instead of offering basic human remorse. In time, rigorous historical audits shattered that folksy facade. Investigators and biographers finally unmasked the celebrity's secrets and deep-seated hostilities fueling his isolated private life. Instead of his gentle cinematic smiles, cultural historians now remember the 3-time Oscar winner for the fortified bunker where he hid. A radical political obsession permanently eclipsed his legendary acting triumphs. Deep paranoia and documented prejudice forever tarnished his historical legacy, proving that Hollywood's most comforting smiles frequently mask the darkest celebrity secrets. He sold the public a comforting grandfatherly illusion while sealing himself inside a fortress of deep prejudice. But if a paranoid screen icon constructing a radical bunker is unsettling, wait until America's ultimate Oscar-winning cowboy hero completely shatters his patriotic facade in a single career-defining interview. Number 2. John Wayne, the hero's prejudiced persona. John Wayne personified the ultimate myth of rugged American grit on the silver screen. Millions worshipped the Duke as a flawless patriotic savior. After capturing a 1970 Academy Award for portraying a classic cowboy, his status as an untouchable industry deity seemed absolute. Then the flawless facade shattered. Sitting down for a 1971 Playboy profile, Wayne exposed a darker side of fame, dismantling his own heroic myth. The industry icon unleashed unfiltered assertions later widely condemned as racist, offering explicit defenses of white supremacy and broadcasting shocking hostile views targeting Native Americans. This boiling animosity exploded at the Academy Awards. On live television, security allegedly restrained him physically from aggressively confronting a Native American activist. The scripted heroism vanished, replaced by a bitter reality, as he wielded his massive platform against marginalized communities. Studio elites buried the brewing Hollywood scandal to protect their box office cash cow. But history always collects its debts. Modern investigators dragged that toxic interview back into the blinding light. The public stripped away the rugged illusion, exposing the harsh prejudices buried underneath. Today, his name ignites fierce national debates, driving aggressive campaigns to strip his honors from landmarks like the Orange County Airport. A pristine legacy swallowed by a tragic downfall. On camera, he projected the ultimate hero, while his hidden rhetoric sparked a relentless debate over his true legacy. Yet, if a compromised cowboy is difficult to stomach, a far deeper shadow loomed. Soon, the most powerful leader in America would employ official messaging that critics condemned as racially charged, broadcasting a deeply polarizing coded language directly to a fractured world. Number 1. Donald Trump. The Oval Office echoes. Donald Trump engineered a shocking transformation, trading a massive reality television empire for the absolute pinnacle of global authority. Securing the American presidency instantly forced the world's hyper-fixated gaze upon him. A dominant media phenomenon swapped a scripted corporate boardroom for the Oval Office, launching a volatile era where the true dark side of fame met raw power. The flashpoint occurred with a single, heavily broadcast descent down a golden escalator inside Trump Tower in 2015. This theatrical spectacle launched a fierce political crusade driven by highly polarizing rhetoric surrounding immigration. Seated at the pinnacle of power, he weaponized his platform to project a deeply fracturing agenda. He enforced severe travel bans aimed at Muslim-majority nations and dropped chilling rhetoric during extremist rallies, openly telling radical groups to stand back and stand by. Investigative analysts and political watchdogs tracked a relentless, spiraling network of coded messaging. They explicitly exposed this provocative language as a massive political dog whistle operating with the shattering blast of a foghorn. Though he fiercely proclaimed on national television to be the absolute least racist person in the room, his record leaves critics and supporters deeply fractured. Political analysts diagnose this volatile communication style as actively weaponizing nationwide flashpoints over race, immigration, and political rhetoric. This presidential tenure secured a grim historical classification, permanently etching his administration into the public record as one of the most fiercely scrutinized and deeply fractured eras in modern American politics. He engineered a legacy forged entirely on public division rather than unity. He held the ultimate opportunity to heal a country, yet repeatedly deployed hostile rhetoric that detractors claim fractured the public from the world's most powerful stage. But if you think watching the absolute pinnacle of authority surrender to toxic prejudice is the end, think again. As we crack open the classified files, a chilling, undeniable truth connects each of these fallen empires. We examine these dark archives not to celebrate a tragic downfall, but to map the wreckage when the illusion of fame shatters against reality. An unmuted microphone is a loaded weapon. A digital profile is a live wire. A lifetime of carefully manufactured adoration can vanish in a heartbeat, leaving a ruined career and shattered reputation in the debris. These Hollywood scandals prove that buried secrets always resurface to destroy a public image. They were wrong. Public accountability remains an unforgiving, relentless force. Surviving the spotlight demands absolute mastery over reckless impulses and uncompromising respect for human dignity. The hidden price of fame proves stardom is just a temporary lease, never a permanent fortress. For every mask that slips, a dozen more celebrity secrets are buried deeper in the shadows. The darkest revelation isn't that these untouchable empires collapsed, but that millions blindly applauded the illusion before the media cover-up dissolved. Celebrity status relies entirely on a carefully managed public image, making public betrayal a mere matter of timing. Refuse to become a passive casualty of manufactured perfection. If you dare to confront the dark side of fame, subscribe to Hollywood Stars and Scars. Our vault is overflowing with the unforgiving, buried Hollywood scandals that elite circles once erased, minimized, or debated behind closed doors. Never find yourself trapped in the dark when the next public crisis permanently alters an icon's legacy. The applause always fades, but the archive never burns.